G'day. Today we're replacing an electric power steering pump on a Holden Astra 2008 model, 1.8 petrol. You have a look down here, that's where the power steering pump is. So we'll start off with sucking the oil out of the power steering reservoir there. Now there's not much room there, but over here you can see there are two electrical plugs. We pull them out, and then where your high pressure hose and your return hose go in, there's a little bracket that actually holds the two pipes into the unit there. And you can see the whole thing's flexible there. So there's a bracket underneath. We need to remove the bolts on the bottom, or the nuts and bolts off the bottoms, and we'll lift it right up. If we can't pull it out the front, out the top I mean, the only other way to get it out, you'd have to remove the subframe to get access to it. And that is a 6mm Allen key. It's on pretty tight. And we'll just undo that bolt. You can see that those two pipes are just there. It is a little bit awkward, but you can do it. Just make sure you blow it all out before you start pulling it apart. There we go. There's a little bolt that holds those two pipes in. We'll just pry it gently away with the screwdriver. There you go. And those two pipe fittings should just pop out. See right there, they've come out a bit. There we go. That one's out. Make sure you've got a tray underneath because a bit of oil will come out. Good idea to replace that O-ring as well. And the other one should wriggle off. And there we go, there's the other one as well. So both those pipes are out now. The electrical plug, if you have a look there, right there, there's a little pin there. You've got to pull that pin out so you can pull the plug out. Okay, little blue clips out. Taking the battery out, take the little bracket out there, disconnect the battery, take the battery out. Now we just undo these, get this tray out of the way. 3 bolts on the tray, unclip this. Oh, torch is gone. Pop this little clip here that's holding the radiator bottle off, that little jigger there. Then you can just slide that bottle right out. And we'll just plonk it there because that'll give us enough room there. And now we have to remove this ABS compressor. And you've got two bolts going from underneath there. You can get your hand underneath there, and they're 13mm heads. There's one there and one at the back. You'll see it. We'll just get them off. What I'll do is I'll cut a slot in there later so I can do it up most of the way with a screwdriver. This little bracket here, the little plastic bracket, I've taken the bolt right off that one and just loosened that one, swung it out of the way. A little trick, because that top nut seems to wiggle around a lot, what you can do is just wedge a little screwdriver in there while you're undoing it. It saves it moving around, wiggling around while you're getting it off. Pull this little plug out of the ABS. We'll just wiggle that plug out. And now we should be able to just pull that out of the way. Might have to disconnect that loom there, just so it moves out of the way. Now to get this plug out, you press that little bit on the end there and it pulls out away from it, like so. There we go, pulled it right out. And then you just pull that plug out. It comes out quite easily, but you need to slide that out. That small plug, you'll see there's a little clip on this side. You just press that. Bit hard to do with the camera there. You press it and that releases it and you just pull it out. You need a screwdriver or very long fingers. Sorry, I forgot to mention there's a little blue pin that you need to pull out towards the front first, and then you can press it and pull it out. There we go. Both plugs are out now. One and the smaller one. On that bracket that the pump's on, there's a nut up here, one on the other side here, and the bottom one's a real difficult to access one. It's up on top of the subframe, so we've got to lift the car up and take that one off. And another thing I do is just loosen these 3 engine carrier bolts. The motor's hanging on that, and they're an E plus 14. And you can see you probably get about 15 mil more movement there, so we'll just loosen that. And now I'll just lift it up and take those bottom bolts off, nuts and bolts. And you can see you can get your 18 mil ring spanner upside down on that nut. There's like a bolt, a nut, and then the plate that the power steering pump sits on, and there's another nut that just holds that on. So you don't have to undo the whole thing, you just have to take that nut off just so we can pull that bracket off. And it is a little bit awkward, but you can do it from the where the wheel is. And now you can see it's loose. Manoeuvre it around. And there we go, I've nearly got it out. The bracket's a real pain in the bum, and you have to actually flex this ABS pump to try and get it out. And when it's all oily, it doesn't help much either. There we go, pump's out. Plonk it in there. You can see it sort of looks impossible that it's come out of there, but you can manoeuvre it out slowly. You just need to flex this back a bit and slowly manoeuvre it out. And if you can, remember the position that it was in when you pulled it out. It'll help you put it back in afterwards. Okay, got the new one, the Rico one there. And good idea to just do a quick comparison, make sure they look very similar, or the same anyway. And you can see we've got to take the bracket off and put it on this one. You'll have to use a lot of new swear words while you're putting it back in. Under that, into there, important not to force anything. find its own way slowly. There we go, bit of manoeuvring, but it's gone in. And now it's probably a good idea to push those plugs on while you can still get to it easily, and probably even put those pressure lines back on, and then you can bolt the bracket down. Now the bolt on this side, it can actually slide left and right. It might give you a little bit of trouble. And there's also a little plate under the head of the bolt. Sometimes it'll fall out of place. You just need to press it down with a screwdriver, and then you can slide the head across in that slot. And now it's just a matter of putting it all back together. Make sure those pipes haven't got any muck on them when you're putting them back, and replace the O-rings on it. There's the rear bracket bolt, and got my daughter doing it today. Okay, we've got it all back in, got the pipes back on, got the brackets bolted up, and now the two bolts that go from the underside that hold that ABS box on, what I've done is I've just cut a couple of slots there for a screwdriver, and it'll just save me a little bit of grief and cursing while I thread that in, and then I'll be able to just tighten it up. So just a little trick there for you. You can cut a little slot in the end there. That one at the back there, and I'll just show you. I'll be able to record this one here. That little slot I've put in there. Just makes it a lot easier. And I still need to tighten it up with the spanner, but it saved me a lot of mucking around there. But if you've got a hoist and you've got a long extension bar, 20-inch, you'll be able to get to those two bottom bolts from underneath the vehicle. If you're doing it on the ground, then you probably can't reach it. Not enough room for you to bend your elbow. But on the hoist, it's quite easy to get those two. And that's basically it. Now we've got to just put the battery back in and fill it up with fluid and bleed the air out of it. Little clip there. These three bolts here. Got those little clips there. We'll put in. Little magnet. And I will be using the Penrite LDAS fluid, which is for this vehicle, 1.8 litre Holden Astra. And you can slightly overfill it because it still needs to bleed those pipes and everything, but important to just briefly start it up, get that pump working, and then check the fluid level. And this stuff is actually green if you have a look. You can see how it's about halfway up the container there, and now I'll just briefly start it up. Just for a moment, turn it off. We'll just check the fluid level again, and it doesn't appear to have gone at all. So now we've got to go full lock, slowly left right until we get all the air bubbles out of it. They actually have a little mark on the side of the container there, but it's hard to see, and that's why they have a little dipstick there. But it's important to get it to operating temperature because the oil will expand, or the fluid will expand a little bit, and check it that way. Now that noise is actually the tyres on the hoist. And we'll go one way and then we'll stop. We'll just have a look at the fluid level again. I don't want to run the pump dry. Still showing about half full, and that looks like it's okay. We'll go left and right a few times and check it again. It is a little bit jerky, but that's until all the air bubbles get out of it. And that appears to be alright. So sometimes you need to go left and right about a dozen times to get it all circulating through properly. But this one seems to be okay. But while you're filling it, very important to make sure that the pump doesn't run dry. Not quite touching the stick, so I'll top it up a bit and then we'll take for a run, check the fluid level at operating temperature. There we go, back from a test run. Looks like the fluid level's right too. Good idea to have a peek in there and just make sure you haven't got any air bubbles. If you've got air bubbles, it just means that you need to drive it a little bit longer before you can get an accurate fluid level reading. And now's a good idea to good time and good idea to just clean any oil that you may have spilt when you're getting the other pump on. There was a little bit of oil came out before I got the pipes back on. Make sure you've done up all the bolts, and that's basically it. Anyway, I hope that's helped. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions, leave them in the section below. And throw me a beer if any of this information has saved you a bit of time or money, or both. Thank you for watching.